Okay, does everybody hear me? You
Yeah.
hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's good. I'm just trying to figure out, why do I have this screen here? All right, then.
Izzy, what are you eating? Turn off your video if you're eating. We don't have to watch you eating.
All right. That makes it more exciting. Is it big enough, the screen?
It's readable.
It's readable. How do I make it bigger again? I have to move this. Oh, here. Here we go.
That's better.
Okay. By the time I know how to use this, we'll be back in the building. Okay. Tonight's topic is the following. We are now, first, welcome everybody. We are now having minyanim. Baruch Hashem, we're inside the shul, but many people are still davening outside the shul. I myself daven chachris in the shul, but I daven mincha marav outside the shul because I'd rather minimize my exposure. And as I said in my email, there's a certain pleasureness in davening outside. It's very, it clears your mind. It gives you a feeling. You see the trees and the sky, and you can feel closer to nature and closer to the Ribono Shalom. Okay, there we go. So the question is it okay once you get used to davening outside? So maybe we should always daven outside. Maybe we should have an outside option to be able to daven outside because it would be more inspiring. I know everybody wants to be inspired by davening. Last week people were disappointed we didn't have a Kabbalah minyan. I hope we'll have it this week. But this would be a way to inspire everybody if we daven outside. So so we're going to see is that there's a problem of davening outside. Let's go to the next page. Yeah, the Gemara says in Brachos. This is the Gemara in Brachos, Daf Lamed Heyamid Beis. So the Gemara, I didn't put the number there. That's what it is. Lamed Heyamid Beis, the end of the fifth parak. The Gemara says, Amar Rav Chia Bar Abba Amar Rav Yochanan. Yispal Adam El B'Bayis Yesh Sham Chalonos. A person should only daven in a house where there are windows. Shenemar v'chiven pesichin lei be'alisei nege Yerushalayim. This is talking about Daniel, and that he faced, his windows were facing, were open. His windows were open in his aliyah. He had an attic apartment, and he faced Yerushalayim. So you see that the windows, you're supposed to have windows where you're davening. The word psichim seems to imply that they have to be open, and that's a discussion whether the windows have to be open or the windows just have to be overseeing the outside. So what's the reason why there has to be windows in a house? So we'll see a little bit later maybe if we have more time. There's actually 4 different reasons. But Rashi says the reason is chalonos, shegarman lo shechaven libo, shehu mistako klapi shemayim, the libo nichla. It helps him have kavanah. Exactly what I just said before. When you're outside, it's easy to have more kavanah because you see the sky and you see the beautiful nature of the world that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created. It's easier to relate to HaKadosh Baruch Hu when you're outside than when you're enclosed in a small area. So Rashi says, "Shuhu mistapa nistako klape shemayim." He looks at the heavens, and it says, "Until Shemayim misaprin kvo kel." If you're able to hear it, the heavens speak the majesty of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yeah, of course, you have to have good hearing to be able to hear it. The libo nichnat, and by doing so, a person feels small, or he feels in comparison to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he has the proper reverence, and his heart bends towards to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we see that there is an advantage to being able to see the outdoors. So now you might say, well, what if that's the case? So why do I have to have a window? I'll do it one step further. I'll daven outside altogether. Why do I have to have just one window and I can look outside? Let me go daven outside completely. So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Kahana, Chatzif alai man the matzli bebika. It's a chutzpah, which means that it's audacious or it's brazen, somebody or arrogant, somebody that davens in a field. So even though you're supposed to have windows to see the outside, but you're not supposed to daven in a field. So Rashi says, why should you daven in a field? Why should you not daven in a field? What's wrong with that? So Rashi says, "Bebika shekishahu b'makom tznius chol alav emes hamelach liba nishbar." When he is in a place of tznius, a place of which is contained and controlled, and he's not in public view, so then he feels more the fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the reverence for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and his heart is broken because he feels the presence. He's not arrogant. So the person that davens outside lacks the tznius, and therefore it's a chutzpah for him to be davening outside, because when you're outside, you don't feel the reverence of Kadosh Baruch Hu, and you don't you're not machnia yourself to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. You don't subjugate yourself to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, you should be davening inside. So what you see is there's a very interesting balance here, and that is, on the one hand, you're supposed to look out the window and see the Shemayim. On the other hand, you're not supposed to be davening outside, because if you're davening outside, it shows when you're outside, you have too much freedom. It's like your mind is all over the place, and you're looking around. You don't feel contrite, and you don't feel that you have to subjugate yourself to Hakadosh Baruch Hu. So there's this very interesting balance. In fact, even this halacha that you have to daven outside, the Beis Yosef asks a question that you have to look out the window to be able to have fear of Hashem. So the Beis Yosef asks the following question. He asks that here. Beis Yosef says, the Gemara says when you daven, you should look down. You don't look up, you look down. Again, that's a sign of contrition and reverence. So he asks, the Gemara says you have to be in a house that has windows. So if you're not supposed to be looking up, you're supposed to be here. You're supposed to bend your head down, and the Torah says Shiyakav Roshamat. You have to bend over, because you're standing in front of the majestic presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So you shouldn't be standing erect at attention. You should be standing in a state of fear. So when you're afraid of somebody, you bend over. So the Beis Yosef asks, so then how does that jive with the statement that you're supposed to daven in a house, sheish b'chalonos? And Rashi says that the reason is because you'll see the sky and you'll have a sense of awe. You're not supposed to look at the sky. You're supposed to look at the ground. You're supposed to look at your feet. The ein of al aretz. So he says a few terutzim. He says, Kasav Rabbeinu Hagadol Maria Avuhav. The Beis Yosef often quotes the Maria Avuhav. When we were learning about 2 weeks ago about whether when you lane is the person who has the aliyah supposed to lane out loud. So the Beis Yosef quoted the Maria Avuhav, and he was a Mekubal because he quotes Maria Avuhav often quotes the Zohar. So Maria Avuhav says, "Mindei kushazu pirish Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah, the time of the bayis sheishel chalalonos, einu el kadeshia habayis masukam ba'aver tov." The reason why a house is supposed to have windows is so that you should have air conditioning. You should have cross currents. The air should be, you shouldn't feel stifling inside a house. You have to have ventilation. So they didn't have air conditioners. So how do you get ventilation? So by having windows in the house, and obviously it means that the windows are open. If the windows are closed, What difference does it make? They have windows in the house. So according to Marei Avuhav, the house has to be open. The windows have to be open. So therefore, there's nothing to that. He's disagreeing with Rashi. Rashi says that because when you have windows, you can look at the Shemayim. The Marei Avuhav says nothing to do with that. It's so that you have air in the house. And the truth is, this Rabbeinu Yonah is in Brachos on Daf Lamed Daled. Rabbeinu Yonah that we have is a little different than the Rabbeinu Yonah that the Marei Avuhav quotes, because Rabbeinu Yonah says, "B'bayis yesh b'chalonos," and that Gemara that we just saw. Yispal adam el b'bayis yesh b'chalonos. Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah, which is the back of Brachos, a fantastic parish, is a Rishon. He says, "B'bayis yesh b'chalonos efshalom b'shatam u'minei sha'idei riyah sa'ar tis yashev daito yoser." It may be because you by seeing the light, you'll have more peace of mind, and you'll be able to have more kavanah. So, and then he says, "Iname." Second reason, the other reason is because the windows should face the mizrach. It is to Vikra Negi Yerushalayim. And because you're supposed to face Yerushalayim, and they shall yideha bata azos yichavim b'tfilaso keneged hamakom yoser they tfilaso ritzuyim ukabels. Your tefillah is supposed to, the way your tefillah goes up to Shemayim is it goes from your mouth and it shoots. In America, goes over the ocean, and it ends up in Yerushalayim, and then in Yerushalayim it goes up from the Makam of the Beis Hamikdash. It goes up to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So by having the window open, or having a window, the Ran said, the Rabbeinu Yonah says, you don't need the window so that the tefillah should get out. The tefillah doesn't have to have a window so it can get out. It can get out of a wall also. But the person should have kavanah. He looks out the window and he knows that far yonder is Yerushalayim. And he has more kavanah when he davens. So those are the two reasons that the Rabbeinu Yonah says. But the first reason, he says that it should be light. Where did the Marei Avuhav get that it should be air, that it should be airy, and you should have ventilation? So obviously, the word or, he had a different girsa. He had the girsa avir, sheyeh v'nei avir. Now he had to have, if he had different girsa, different text, he had to have a different word here for re'iyah, because you can't say re'iyah on avir. You don't see avir. You feel avir. I'm not sure what word he had instead of re'iyas, but he had the girsa and the Rabbeinu Yonah because of avir. Either way, what you see is that a shul has to be a pleasant place to daven. You know, people, like when we were in the gym, I remember, probably many of you that are here remember also, there were these fierce debates. What's wrong with staying in the gym? Why should we have to raise money and spend a lot of money on building a new place to daven, a new edifice? Why can't we stay in the gym? And others said, well, because you're supposed to daven in a beautiful place. And David HaMelech said, this is what I once said in a drasha. David HaMelech said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that I'm in I forgot the language of the pasuk, but I'm in a beautiful house, and the Mishkan is V'soch HaYiriyah, and that's why David wanted to build the Beis Hamikdash. So what you see from here is that human beings are affected by their surroundings. The Kadosh Baruch Hu is not. The Kadosh Baruch Hu is not influenced by how things look. But human beings are very much influenced by the surroundings. So a shul, you see two things. That a shul, number one, should be light, so that you can see inside in the shul. You should have outdoor light, so that it should be have an upbeat character. And second of all, it should have air. And Baruch Hashem, our shul, I always said that when I was growing up, my father was the rabbi, Father Shalom was the rabbi of the Young Israel Forest Hills. In those days, they used to, when they wanted to make a shul elegant, so the walls were made out of mahogany wood, which is an expensive wood, and mahogany is always a dark color. It's a rich brown or a rich maroon. Those are the mahogany colors. And when we built our shul, we don't have any mahogany and we don't have any dark colors. On the wall, it's white. And then we have the wood trim in a light wood. And I love the way our shul looks because a mahogany shul, as elegant as it is, to me, is much more confining and restricting. And it's a much more pleasant feeling when you're in a shul that has bright colors. So, and that's so. This idea that you have to have that it has to look nice. That's reflected in the fact that you're supposed to have chalonos. Either so there should be air, or it should be well ventilated, or it should be have air, or it should be you have sunlight. So money spent on beautifying a shul is not wasted money. It's money that's spent in order to inspire the people who are davening there. Aval Rashi, so what the Beis Yosef asked, so that's very good according to Maria Avuhav, that there's no contradiction between the halacha that says that it's supposed to be that you're supposed to bend down when you daven and look at the ground. That doesn't contradict. The Gemara says you have to have chalonos because the purpose of chalonos is either for air or it's either avir or Aval Rashi. But according to Rashi, I cut and pasted here. Chalonos Rashi says that the purpose of the windows is that you should look up to the heavens and your heart will feel contrite. So if that's the case, so it's kasha, so then it's a stira. On the one hand, you're supposed to look down when you daven. On the other hand, you're supposed to have windows so you can look up. So which is it? So he says, Yeshomer Shemasha Kosav Shistako Kabi Shemayim. This is Beis Yosef's Torah. It's Rav Yosef Cairo. That which it says you should look at the Shemayim. Eino wrote Salomar. It doesn't mean that you should look up at the sky the whole time that you're davening. It means in passing. It means that you take a glance and then you feel contrite compared to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You feel puny, speck of dirt compared to the whole universe, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In the universe, there are, I once read that the amount of stars in the universe are 10 to the 20th power. That means 10 with 20 zeros afterwards. We don't even have words. Once you get past the trillion, we don't have ways of describing that. There's unbelievable amount of stars in the sky. So you look up at the heavens and you see, or if you look at the sun is so powerful that you can't even look at it. If you stare at it for more than a second, it hurts your eyes. If you look at it too long, you can become blinded. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu created all these things. He created all those billions and trillions of stars, and he created the sun, and he created the beautiful scenery for us. So that's very inspiring. So what the Beis Yosef says, that you should not be busy looking at the Shemaim the whole time you're davening, because then it'll be a distraction. You're supposed to be, and you're supposed to not be looking up. You're supposed to be looking down. So what he says, but if momentarily you're allowed to look at the Shemaim. I don't remember where I saw it, but somebody says that you should look at the Shemaim at the beginning of davening before you start. That's the time to look, but not during davening. But the Magen Avraham says, he quotes the Beis Yosef and he says, "Avagav shetzar yitenei lamata." It means even in the middle of davening. In the middle of davening, and you know how our kavanah is, it is not so great. And while you're davening, you could go on literally go on a tour of the whole world while you're davening. My daughter is on her school. They take her on Zoom. They every day she goes someplace else, to France, to Italy, to the Congo. So when you're davening, you could do the same thing. You could Zoom there without a computer. So if you catch yourself and you realize that you're on autopilot and you're just mumbling the words, so you want to have kavanah, so you look out the window and you say, "Wow, look how majestic the Rebbeinu Shalom is. Look how magnificent the world he created. Look at his omnipotence. Look at his power that he created such a universe." But then you have to go back to davening. So just to put things into perspective again, when when it says here, the two Gemaras that are one next to each other, on the one hand, you're supposed to daven in a house with windows. So Rashi says, so you'll have more kavanah. On the other hand, if you daven outside, it's a chutzpah. And Rashi says, because it's not a makom tsunua, and you won't have your shemayim. You won't feel contrite to the Ribono Shalom. So I was asking before, which one is it? Are you supposed to? Is it better to be looking out the window, or is it better to be why? If it's good to look out the window, why don't you daven outside? So the answer is, when you look out the window, it's only supposed to be momentary. It's not supposed to be. It's you can take a glance. If you get stuck in the middle of davening, you need to be inspired. You look out the window. It's like everything in life. The Rambam says that a person has to go b'derech ha'emtzai. The derech
Shvila Zav.
hazav, the golden path, because the world today is so radicalized in so many different ways, both to the left and the right and the middle and every place, that there's no balance. Everything is extreme. Reactions are extreme. Positions are extreme. Extreme is not healthy, and it leads, when people are extremists, they believe that they could commit crimes in the name of whatever their ideology is. So, but Chazal, we're very, very balanced. And so this is the balance. On the one hand, you're supposed to have windows so you can see outside. At the other hand, if you're going to stand outside the whole davening, then you're mechutzef. Then it's a lack of derech eretz for the Ribono Shalom. So according to Rashi, the chutzpah is because it's not a makom tsunua, and you won't have the proper. It's better to daven makom tsunua, because then it's chalav emes hamelech v'libon nishbar. It's easier for a person to feel that their heart is broken. I mean, why should you want your heart to be broken? It's because we all have inadequacies. So when a person's supposed to have a sense of modesty, of anivus, and feel how inadequate we are, and how many things that we've done that we should not have done, that are inappropriate, and look how far away we are from achieving what I have. You can see my svarim in the background here. I always ask the bar mitzvah boys how many svarim they have. All four walls are lined with svarim. I ask them when I meet with them, how many svarim do I have in my study? And they say 100, 200. So I say, I'm sure I have at least 4,000 or 5,000 svarim here, because a lot of the rows are double rows. There's svarim in front, there's svarim in back. So recently I told the bar mitzvah boy, do you know how long it would take me to learn all these svarim? About 1,000 years to go through all the svarim. There's so much to know, and there's so much to learn, and there's so much to grow and to change our character. There's so many things to work on. There's so many mitzvah opportunities that we don't take advantage of. So when a person thinks about all those things that he feels, and he compares himself to the Ribono Shalom, who created the entire universe, so a person's heart is broken, but it's supposed to be broken in a way that's inspiring. It's not. I'll show you later if I have time. The Kaf HaChaim says you're not supposed to feel atzvus. You're not supposed to feel sad. There's a difference between atzvus and merirus. Atzvus is depression. Merirus is bitterness. Where a person's allowed to feel bitter, because bitter means that you feel unsatisfied. You want to do more. You want to do better. That's a healthy attitude. But if you look at all the svarim and you say I'm a nobody, what's it all worth? Then that is paralyzing. So so anyway, that's the balance here. That on the one hand, you're supposed to be indoors in order to feel the presence of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's easier to feel that way indoors, but at the same time, there should be windows. Now that's Rashi's pshat in why you're supposed to daven you're not supposed to daven in the field. I would just point out that according to Rashi, let's say a person, Rachmana litzlan, is blind. There's no reason why he can't daven outside, because he can't see anyway. The whole purpose is that it should be in a makom snua. Unless you'll say that intuitively he feels, maybe even a person's blind, he's very sensitive to his environment. So maybe even if a person's blind, he's able to sense that he's in a confined area rather than when he's outside. Now Tosfos here asks a terrific kasha. Tosus asks, Bim Tomar, Aksiva Yetzi Yosef Vasil Pasada. Yosef went out to daven in the field.
Yitzchak.
When
Yitzchak.
Yitzchak. That was when Eliezer came with Rivka, and she saw him davening in the field. Vasuach means to daven. It's one of the 10 words that we associate with tefillah, 10 verbs. So what was he doing in a sada? If you're not supposed to daven in the field, in a bikah, why was Yitzchak davening in a field? So Tosa says, Yeshua Hasamari Bahara Maria. Can I read him in Psachim? He was on Hara Maria, that's the place, that's the Makom HaMikdash. And so there's two ways to understand what Tosus means. So what if it was Hara Maria? How does it answer the question? So it was Hara Maria. But even if it was Hara Maria, but what was he doing davening in the field? So some say it means, I think it's the Bach says it means that, and it means that there was a fence around the area. There was a fence there, and even though it says basada, but that's what Tosa says. A Yitzchak called it a sada. It was a descriptive term. It wasn't really a field. Here, Rashi, he says. No. Okay.
Tosfos gave as a second answer that it's a place where there weren't other people.
Yeah, I know the second answer. We're coming to that in a second.
Right.
So, okay. Anyway, here Ikshitosis. You saw the Tzadai Maria. No, okay. So it doesn't say the Magen Avraham doesn't say there was a fence, but I think the Bach says there was a fence. I don't see it right now. So one way is to say that there was a fence. The other way is to say that it was Har Maria. There was the Shechina was there, so you don't need to worry about davening outside in the makom where the Shechina is. In fact, the Achronim talk about why you're allowed to daven at the Kol Samaravi. The Kol Samaravi is outside. It's a public area. So one answer is because it's like Har Maria. It's right next to Har Maria, and you feel the presence of the Shechina. And then Tosh says, Iname, what Jack just mentioned, Biksa the Hacha Mari Bebika B'Makom Sherigilim Sham B'nei Adam La'avor V'Hochei Drachim. We're talking about a place where people, it's a thoroughfare, where people are walking back and forth. And since they're walking back and forth, that's where you're not supposed to daven in an area that's public where everybody is walking back and forth. So
it's mashma from this that if you're in a place where you're outside and you're alone, then
that is correct.
Maybe.
Absolutely, it would be the big nafkamina between Rashi and Tosas. According to Tosas, the whole problem is if you're in a place where people are going to bother you, but if there's nobody, if you're on a trip and you want to park your car by the beautiful scenery. Bob Lancey told me he took a trip today with his wife to Pennsylvania to see the beautiful scenery. So if you're in a place where there's beautiful scenery, so then you should be able to daven. There's nobody around, so you should be able to daven there, according to Tosas. We'll see. It's not clear that we passing like this Tosas. So, but the Beis Yosef asked a tremendous kasha Tosas. Tosas seemingly means to say that when there's people around, people are going to bother you, and it's not going to be possible to daven with kavanah. So the Beis Yosef asks, on the next page, the Beis Yosef asks, he says, Rashi says, the reason why you should daven indoors is because it's a makom tznuah. And Rabbeinu Haggadah Mariavu of Kasser Shemeachashu b'makom megula Rabbeinu Nichtal Lefnei Baro Stater b'makom Nistar Afal Pi She'ein Nelam Negeno. The Maria Avulam says another very fascinating explanation. He says that a person should feel a need to hide from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Who hid from HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Adam Mechabe. When they were Mechabe, they hid themselves when they heard the Kadosh Baruch Hu coming. So a person, when he feels the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he should want to hide himself. So the natural instinct should be to go into a house. even though even though what's the good of hiding? You can't hide. I mean, you can be in the house, but it has no difference. Kadosh Baruch Hu is every place, and He sees everything. But nonetheless, that should be the natural instinct. And if you don't do that, hareza azpanim. If you don't feel the need to hide, then it means that you're brazen. You're mechutzef, because if God is so great, you should feel you don't want to. You're embarrassed to be outside in His presence. Yeah, you do the best you can to hide. That's the Maria Avuv. So we have already 3 reasons. We have Rashi's reason about that it should be a makom tznius in order to feel the presence of a Kadosh Baruch Hu v'leiv nishbar. We have the Maria Avuv that says that a person should want to feel the need to hide before Hashem, and Tosus, who says that we're talking about a place where there's a lot of people walking back and forth. So he quotes the Tosus. Tosus kaso in Tomar Ksiv Ayetzi Yisrael Usul Basada. So Yitzchak davened outside. How is that? Yishlomar the Hasamari Bahar Maria. It was a Har Maria. Inami, that was the first teretz. Biksu the Hachar Bika B'Makshir Gilmanei Adam Laver. It's talking about where people walk. People, it's a thoroughfare. So the Beis Yosef asked, this is Ad Kalashon, that's the end of the Tosas. The Beis Yosef asked the Bam Kasha, the Tema, the Latirat Sheni, Mashma, the Avitami Kadeshulo, Yafsiku, Avidrachim. According to the second teretz of Tosas, the problem is you won't have kavanah because people are going to bother you. People walk by, and either they'll talk to you or you'll be distracted anyway. You'll say, wow, look at that guy's hat and his shoes and this and that. So what does it have to do with chatzuf? The Gemara says, chatzuf alai manda matzli b'miga. Here, this is the tour. It's the same English as the Gemara. Chatzuf alai manda matzli b'miga. For me, it's chutzpah. If somebody davens in a field. So what if it's a problem is that people are going to interrupt you? What does it have to do with chutzpah?
Because if you're davening the chatchila in a place where you know there's gonna be ovrei drachim and you're not gonna have kavanah, so then it's mechutz of klapei Kadosh Baruch Hu that you're davening in an environment like that.
Okay, if we were in elementary school and you gave an answer, you would get 5 stars, because that's what the Bach. This is the Bach on the right. This is the tour. I talked about it many times. The Torah is in the middle. The Torah is the father of the Rosh, or the son of the Rosh. This is the Torah. The order of Shulchan Aruch that we have is patterned after the Shulchan Aruch of the Torah. The Beis Yosef of Yosef Cairo is on one side, and the Beis Chadash is the Bach, who is on the other side. The Bach was the father of the Taz. So the Bach says, Beis Yosef Havin Divrei Tosfos. He quotes the Beis Yosef's kasha. That what does it have to do? How come he's considered a chotzef? So he says, the Beis Yosef Havin Divrei Tosfos came the regilim b'nei Adam yafsiku overdrachim. But he thought it's because this could be interruption. They'll be interrupting. So he says, v'nira od l'tares atosis. Oh, I'm sorry. He doesn't answer the kasha. Okay, it's not the Bach that answers. It's the Magen Avram. Okay, here's the Magen Avram. The Magen Avram says, where's the Magen Avram? Oh, Hiksha Tosfos. Here it is. Hiksha Tosfos. So he says the second teretz is that Yitzchak, that inami because of avidrachim, and the Beis Yosef asked the Mapir Sheni because chotzev. What is it? It was Tirat Sheni Ein Atam. I hope I have the next page. Oh, here it is. Ein Atam Mishum Chatzifus. It's what's it got to do with chutzpah? So the Beis Yosef has a different reason. The Beis Yosef says it's because it's tznius, which is the Rashi's reason. But so because this is the Shulchan Aruch written by the Beis Yosef, he's quoting Rashi because he rejects Tos's second teretz. But the Magen Avram says, I'll explain Tos's. Shafil Yavro Allah of Kol Derech Lo Yispatri Konaso. He's being arrogant. He's saying, don't worry, I can handle it. Watch me. I'm going to be outside and everybody's going to walk by and it won't bother me. So that is being arrogant, is being chutzpahdik. I read when I was younger, when I was a teenager, Madame Curie her power of concentration was so great that her siblings used to make fun of her. So when she was reading a book, they would dance around her and they would talk to her and they would yell at her and scream at her, and she didn't even notice. And Einstein, I read, when he wanted to think, and people used to come to his house all the time bothering him, he would go to a movie theater because he was away from the people, and that was the best way to think. But most people don't have that ability to concentrate when there are people mulling around. So I'm saying, if you stand outside in the middle of Macy's and there's 100 people walking back and forth, it's arrogance, because it's you're saying I can have kavanah even though, look at me, I can have kavanah even though all these people are bothering me. So that's why why he's a mechutza. I had a different teretz to the Beis Yosef's kasha on Tosas. That why is it, if it has to do with people walking by, what does it have to do with chutzpah? I have an original teretz. I looked in a lot of svarim in preparing this year, and I didn't see this teretz anyway, but I think it's a pretty good teretz. I would say that I'm sure you've had the same experience. You've been in the airport and you have to daven mincha, and it's getting late. It's getting before shki. You have to daven mincha. So I don't want to stand in the middle of the airport and just start davening mincha and chuckling and do karim and everything. I feel embarrassed. So what I do, I go over when they used to have telephones in the old days. So you go over the telephone and you pick up the phone and you make believe you're talking on the telephone, and that way you don't feel out of place. So the question is that a normal instinct? You know who doesn't have that instinct is Lubavitchers. Lubavitchers are unbelievable. Lubavitchers, I could never do what Lubavitch does. I would never be able to go over to somebody and say, are you Jewish? I just couldn't do it. But they've been trained from the time they're young to do it. So I was once with a Lubavitcher I went to visit a plant in Iowa, and there was the OU is the largest employer of Lubavitcher Shlichim, because they're all over the world, so we use them very often for mashgichim. So I was with this mashgiach in Iowa. He met me early in the morning. There was no place to daven a minyan where I was, so he met me at 7:00. So and when he left his house, he had to drive there, so he left before his man. So he walks into the hotel lobby. I'm sitting there waiting for him. He says, "I'm going to daven now." So he takes out in the middle of the lobby, puts on his towels and tefillin, and he's shucking away. I could not do that. I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't even be able to daven. The few times I was in the airport, I had to daven in that airport, I think I didn't wear towels, because it would be harder for me to concentrate wearing a towel. So I would feel very self-conscious. So I guess it depends on your upbringing, but the reason why many of us would feel uncomfortable is because when you do something that's different than everybody else, it makes you feel self-conscious. And therefore, that's a normal instinct, that a person should feel a sense of self-consciousness. Or if you're having on the airplane, if you have to stand up and you're standing by your seat, first you shouldn't stand in the aisle because you're disturbing other people. But even if you stand by your seat, it just makes you look strange. Why are you standing by your seat? Put on your hat and jacket and stand. So or if you're your jacket. So it's a normal thing that a person that you have a bunch of people walking by and he's there davening mincha or shachris, and it doesn't bother him. Instead of going to a place where it's private, he's standing in the middle of the thoroughfare. That's chutzpah. That means that it's a sign of brazenness, that I don't care about anybody else. I'll do my own thing. I don't give two hoots what you think. And the Gemara says that if a person eats b'shuk, he's pasul edus. If a person eats in the marketplace, he's pasul edus. What's wrong? Why is he pasul edus? Because it shows that he doesn't have a sense of dignity. A dignified person doesn't take out a sandwich in the middle of the street and start eating. There's a certain delicateness to eating in private. You don't eat in the middle of, you ever been on a train where they have these people speaking on cell phones? If you're not in a quiet car, and every single person in the train could hear the guy or the lady on the cell phone, and you find out everything about their life that you didn't want to know, and they could talk and talk and talk the whole trip until people start yelling at them and screaming at them. And I thought, if I was a psychologist and I needed to do write a thesis, I would do a study of what personalities do these people have that allows them to stand on and sit on the train, and they can talk quietly also. They don't have to talk out loud, but they just can't control themselves. They're so they're not embarrassed. They talk out loud, and the whole train hears what they're saying. So that's chutzpah. That a person that doesn't have tznius is a natural sensitivity and refinement of a person. A person should feel a sense of tznius. A person should not be. I saw some of the pictures of the people that were rioting, walking around without shirts and without t-shirts. I mean, that's a brazenness. Well, besides everything else that they did, burning police cars and all that. But just the way they dress, it makes a big statement about who a person is and what type of person they are. So if a woman dresses not tzniustic, is also a statement. So the Jewish people are tznuim. So that's what I thought, that if a person's davening in a public area, it's a lack of refinement. It's a lack of tznius. It's a brazenness. Okay, in any event, so there you have. There's three different pshatim that we have. Is it three different pshatim? Why you're not supposed to daven in a field? One pshat is because Rashi's pshat is because if you daven inside, there's a sense of tznius, and you feel the fear of God, and your heart is the reverence for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or the fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, descends on you, and your heart is broken. That's Rashi's pshat. And then the Mari Avuhav says, because the natural instinct is that a person should want to hide from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And now we have the third pshat. Tosa says that it's talking where there are people. So according to Tosa, so the question is, where's the chutzpah? So the Magen Avraham says the chutzpah is because it's like you're showing off that you could daven and not be disturbed by other people, and then if you want, you have my pshat in chutzpah and being in a public place. So now there's one more pshat that they say, and that is the Zohar. The Magen Avraham says, Magen Avraham says, I am Zohar b'shalach amad kufhei ikshisham kushazu. The Zohar asked Tosas Kasha that how come Yitzchak was able to daven outside. He doesn't tell us what the Zohar answered. He says, "Amash misham the dafke b'bayis yesh l'hispalel." That you should be davening in a house. You're not supposed to daven in a field, but you should daven in a house. What is he coming to preclude, the Magen Avraham? The Gemara says that you're not supposed to daven in a field. So what does it mean you're supposed to daven in a house? So the plain way to understand it is, the question is, could you daven in an area that's enclosed? If there's a fence around the area, is it okay to daven there? Does it have to be an area with a roof, or could it be a fenced-in area? So in the Shulchan Aruch, you have the Shari Tshuva, and I'm sorry, it's a little bit, maybe I can make it bigger if I start playing around with this. Okay, I can't do it. But anyway, the Shari Tshuva says, "B'sefer Batei Kahuna Kosav the B'mako Mukaf Mechitzos Afsheinu Makara Sharbadami." You could daven in a place where there's a fenced-in area, like a backyard. We have people who have been using backyard minyanim. They're fenced in, so that's better than davening in a parking lot, because parking lot's not fenced in. I was looking at the blacktop tonight to see if it's fenced in. It is fenced in on at least 3 sides. It's on 3 sides, because you have the side next to the sidewalk. There's a fence, and then between the house next door and the blacktop, there's a fence, and then you have the wall of the building. That's Evan Chain's house, and then you have the wall of the building on the other side. So the fourth side is open. I saw some discussion about how much has to be fenced in. Does it have the same gedarim as in Hilchos Sukkah or in Hilchos Shabbos? In Hilchos Sukkah, you can have 3 walls is considered enough for a sukkah. In Hilchos Shabbos, you need 4 walls. How big does it have to be? So he says, as long as it's fenced in, that's enough. Because of Birki Yosef, she came minig pashut b'tzochei b'toshavei Yerushalayim. Here, I'll show you the Birki Yosef inside. The Birki Yosef, it was the Rabbi Yosef Chaim Azalai. So the Birki Yosef says the Chidah. Rav Chaim Yosef David Azalai. So the Birki Yosef says, Lo Yispav Makom Paratz Kaser Rav Magen Avraham Mashma V'Zara Dieshis Bav Bayis. Umarenu harav bate kahuna herech bezev held the malacha mukaf mechitzos ach she'eno mekara shabadami. Even if there's no roof, it's okay. V'chein haminag pashut b'sochri shan. That was the minhag in Yerushalayim Ir Kodesh. Shatzibur mispal bebeis hakneses b'makom she'eno mekara. They had shuls that had no roof, maybe because it was so hot. The mekara rabbana the misyasi mispal mincha v'arvis b'chatzeres v'etim midrashes and the Chachamim would gather by the Beis Medrash. They would daven outside in the courtyard, also probably because it was cooler. So they would daven in the courtyard as long as it was fenced in. So according to that, in other words, even though Rashi says that it shouldn't be in an open area, that's only if it's totally hefker. It shouldn't be an area that's unbound. Then it's like a hefkeris to have such an area. But if it's a fenced-in area, so then it's okay. Does everybody agree with this? No. There's a sefer called Shulchan Hatar. I forgot who the author is, but he quotes the Zohar, and he says, "Because I'm a word the Beina and bias Makora." Achar, that says Kach Pshutis Hazar. That's the plain meaning of the Zohar. V'chein haminag b'chol ha'olam. The osin kipa yafa. The minhag is that shuls have a roof. They don't make shuls without roofs. I mean, it could be they do that because they don't want when it rains, they want to have some form of protection. But anyway, so you have here the Shulchan Atar holds that has to have a roof, and whereas the Birki Yosef says it doesn't have to have a roof. So according to Birki Yosef, if you daven in the blacktop, it could be it's even lechatchila, because so I really shouldn't announce that, because we're going to have a push for people who got used to the blacktop. They're going to want to daven there all year. In the parking lot, we don't have to allow it, because that's for sure now that parking lot violates this halacha. You're not supposed to daven in a bika, but maybe in the blacktop it would be mutal chatchila, except that according to the sefer that I just showed you, the Shulchan Atar, he holds that it has to have a roof. Why does it have to have a roof? I don't know. Either it's because what Rashi says that it's a place of tznius and therefore you feel more contrite. That's maybe to a greater extent when it has a roof, or maybe it has to do with Kabbalistic things. If it's in the Zohar, probably he quotes that sefer quotes the whole Zohar. I didn't understand it. The language of the Zohar is very difficult. Here's a tshuva from Rav Asher Weiss. Rav Asher Weiss in his Kuntris Minchas Asher B'Tkufas Corona. I showed it to you a few times already. Rav Asher Weiss wrote, he has already 3 Mahaduros, three volumes of tshuvos for the Corona disease. Different shilos that came up. So he says, Tfilo beginos u'rechovos. You're allowed to daven in a garden and in the street. So he says, Yehudim Rabbim b'chol makomos zureim Irgano minyani tefillah. They arranged, the people spread out, they arranged places to daven, bein habatim, each outdoors, in between the house, gagos, or they daven on the rooftops, or rechovos seir, or in the street, b'hanacha shemakom pasuch t'shalti be'aver. Because Sakanas with on the basis of the fact that outdoors the risk is much less. He says the question is, are you allowed to do that? The Amr Chazal, Amr Rav Kana, Chatzulai Man Damatzi Vibika. Rav Kana says it's a chutzpah, somebody that davens in a bika, in outdoors. By the way, I just want to point out, why does he say it this language? Why does he say chutzpah alai? If you have a good teretz, tell me. He should have just said it's a chutzpah. Man dematzei bebikta hu arehu mechutzaf.
Maybe he's saying only to me it appears. To me it appears.
Right. So that's what I think the same thing. That it means it's a chutzpah if you have the sensitivity. Not everybody has sensitivity. Many people say, "What's wrong with the?" I don't feel any different davening outside than davening in the shul. Or if the way the Beis Yosef, the way the Magen Avraham says that you're showing that you could daven with kavanah, even most people don't feel that that's a chutzpah. I mean, but people by weddings, they're not careful by weddings to daven where you don't have a lot of people. They're right after the chuppah, they gather over on the side. You can't even hear it about tefillah. That's 100 times worse than davening outside where people are walking by. It's inside, you can't hear a thing. So you see that most people just don't have that sensitivity. So that's why he says chutz v'lai, and we're supposed to learn from Rav Kana that he had that sensitivity. We should have it too. So Rosh Hashanah says, "V'cheinu b'shulchan aruch ha'yispal v'makom paretz k'mo sadri v'nei shikshu v'makom tziyas chol v'emes melech v'li v'lishbar." So it's wrong to daven outside. We shouldn't be davening outside. He says, "Amnan b'shari tshuva hevi mivati kuna misevim mizbeach adama the makom hamukim mechitzus leslam ba." If it's fenced in, the b'shari tshuva says there's no problem, and the Birkei Yosef says that's the minig Yerushalayim. And then Rav Shai says, "V'chein nahakti afani b'kolel." In my kolel in Yerushalayim, he has a kolel that is in memory of Aryeh Zinkin and Shep Gersberg. It's kolel Aryeh and Shapsi. The Hill Zinkin runs the kolel. So he says, in my kolel, in Rabbi Shai says the Rosh Kolel. He says, in my kolel, we daven v'cheder apnimius hamukav mechitzas tachas kiva shemayim. It's outdoors, so it's you have the best of both worlds. Outdoors is more inspiring. The Gemara says that you're supposed to have windows. Better than having windows is be outdoors, because then you could just look right up at the sky. You have nothing blocking your view. So you're only supposed to do that momentarily, but you have the opportunity to do that. So it's outdoors, and you have plenty of fresh air, which the Rabbeinu Yonah says that one of the reasons to have a chalon, a window, is so you can have avir, at least according to the Girsa of the Maria Avuv, so you have air, and you have daylight, which is much more pleasant than artificial light, natural sunlight. So what could be better? So that's he says, you daven outside. Even though I showed you that the Shulchan Gavoa says that he holds that the Zohar is of the opinion that you shouldn't daven without a rooftop, but obviously the Birkei Yosef didn't agree with that. Birkei Yosef himself was a very big makubal, so he probably understood the Zohar to mean that the Zohar says you should daven bebayis. If the Magen Avraham quotes, it doesn't mean there has to be a house; it just means it has to have walls. And then he says, what I asked you before, what type of mechitzas do you need? If we were trying, if you wanted to carry the black, if there was no air in town, you wouldn't be allowed to carry the black tie. It doesn't have a din of Rishus Yachid because it only has 3 walls, and even the 3 walls are not connected all over. Because where you walk in from Harrison, it's open as well. So he says you don't need mechitzas like Shabbos. Rafal Stein v'Tefa found a sukkah. It doesn't have the same gedar as sukkah. Called the having makom tzenua study below the big psucha yeshu hakol b'shas chak. As long as it's an enclosed area. I mean, he says b'shas chak. I guess l'chatchila he holds it should have 4 walls, but b'shas chak as long as it's enclosed to some extent. So certainly the blacktop it's fenced off. The whole reason why it's fenced off is so people shouldn't just walk right in. So the blacktop it's better to daven a blacktop than to daven. We had Miyam in the back of the parking lot. Blacktop's much better. And then he says, Udom Yisrael Heavy Mishnabura, be Pri Megadol Chayadam, Yishas Etchak, Yahada L'Spal Beni Lanos. I didn't show you, but there's another teretz. The Beis Yosef says to Tosas Kasha, how come Yitzchak was davening on Har Maria? So the Beis Yosef says that he davened between the trees. So between the trees is also it's not an open area. It's only if it's an open plain. But if there's some enclosure, so then it's okay. So he says, you shouldn't daven in an open field. But as long as there's some fences, even if it's not a total enclosure, it would be okay. Then he says, Tosu Sham Tamo, we might receive Yitzchak Sul Vasada, Mama Chazal Yisichel Tefillah, and Tosus gives two. I cut off this part. Then he says, when we come over B'Shulchanar Hal B'Darach Mutlo Spal Vasada V'Vika, V'Chein there the B'Cholin and the Yesher B'Yin Acher. I didn't see it in the Shulchan Aruch. He says the Shulchan Aruch says that when you're traveling, you're allowed to daven in a field. So I didn't see it in the Shulchan Aruch, but I saw it in the Magen Avram. The Magen Avram says that here. He says, somebody's traveling, he's allowed to daven in a field. So Rav Shua is saying that's another. I mean, we don't have the opportunity to daven indoors. So he's pasting together reasons to be makel. First, because it has a fence, and second of all, because I cut that out. But according to the second teretz of Tosas, you don't have people, so we're standing, so it's not a problem. And third of all, we're like over drachim. We don't have a breira. So when you don't have a breira, I had the following shaila. What happens if you're on a trip, and if you daven while on the trip, you could daven with a minion, but they're going to daven at a rest stop area. Let's say you're with the Norpac people, and they stop. They always stop to daven mincha along the way. If you didn't have a chance to daven at the hotel, at the assembly hall, so you daven mincha at the rest stop area. So that's you davening bibika. That's what it is. Your mamish davening bibika. I remember I was in Camp Monk. Goes back to 1963, a few years ago, and we Rav David Cohn, who at that time was an Adam Gadol, even though he was a young man then, he was probably in his 30s. So we were on a trip someplace, and we started to daven, and Rav David Cohn started, not in a bad way, but he was yelling. He said, "You can't daven here. It's a bika. You're not supposed to daven in a bika." That's where I learned the halacha from the first time. Before I saw it in the Shulchan Aruch, I learned it from David Cohn. You're not supposed to daven outdoors. So here's my shaila. So even though we were over drachim, so over drachim were allowed to daven outside. He meant to say, wait till you get back to Camp Monk, and then you'll daven. So who said you have to daven at 4 o'clock at a rest stop area? Wait till you get back at 6 o'clock and daven in the Beis Medrash. There's also a mile of davening in Beis Medrash, but even if you're not going to daven, even if you're just a davening house. But here's my question: if you're with the Norpac people and you have a choice, let's say for some reason, usually they get back very late at night at 11 o'clock. But let's say they would be getting back at 7 o'clock at night, and they decided to daven at the rest stop area. If you daven with them, you'll daven with a minion. But you don't daven with. But if you want to daven indoors, nobody's going to wait to daven until later. Just you. So when you get home, you're going to be daven b'yechidus. What's better, to daven with a minion, or to daven b'yechidus daven with a minion in a field, or daven b'yechidus in an enclosed area in a bayis? So I didn't put it in my Mar Mekamas because I just found it tonight. There's a sefer called Pislei Chuvos. He says it's pashut that it's better to daven with a minion. A minion trumps davening in a private area. But I saw that Rabbi Yashiv says a very interesting thing is that, let's say they already said you have a minion, and they said Baruch Hu. So you miss Baruch Hu, like you're at a chasna, you miss Baruch Hu. And now you have a chance to daven outside of making another minyan, but and then making another minyan, but it's outdoors. So he says, "Lo yispal makom paretz ach bechatzer amukim mechitzas." He says, "Alkenim lo yispik b'shema baruch hu b'minyan shispal ma'arav basic knesses yesh minyan acher b'chutz other minyan mifnim av b'shei mispal imam yishpal baruch hu." It's better to miss baruch hu and daven indoors than it is to daven outdoors and have a chance to say baruch hu. Okay. Anyway, bottom line is there's no question that if you're davening outdoors because of the pandemic, it's definitely mutter for all the reasons that we learned above. But the takeaway is that you're supposed to daven indoors. And the last thing I just say, I know I'm a minute late, is that you see how sensitive Chazal were to environment. That everything makes an impression. I mean, who would think about it? If you're diving outside, it's a place of pretzos, and you're not going to have Yiras Shamayim, and inside you will have Yiras Shamayim. I mean, we don't even. That's why we kind of said Chatzaf a lot. We don't even. It's hard to even relate to that. The Chazal were hypersensitive, and they said that halacha even for us, because even though we don't feel it, but everything makes a roshim on a person. Where you are makes a roshim. You daven inside, it's a different experience than davening outside. And you're supposed to have a window so you could see the Shemayim, and you're supposed to have a well-lit room so that you can daven with an open, your head is clear. So those are the lessons that we have from these halachas. Okay, I wish everybody a wonderful and a good night. Thank you for
Shkoyach.
All right.
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
a pleasure.
All right.
Okay.
Laila
Good
Tov.
Have a good night, everybody.
You will.
Laila
All
Tov.
right.
Hello, Tov.
Bye-bye.
Right now, I'm calling you.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I'm just seeing who's here. Okay.
I'm here.
I know you're here.
This
Okay,
is
good night.
a reason now not to daven down in the dungeon, which is a kiddush
Oh, I
room.
was going to mention that. But I don't know if I should say that. It's a good thing almost everybody left. You daven in the dungeon. If you feel it's a dungeon, you shouldn't daven there. If you
100%
daven
correct.
downstairs, you can only daven downstairs if you feel it's a nice place to daven. If
And
you
also
feel-
another push, the shul should be ventilated, which means you better clean the ducts.
Oh, boy. Wow. Everybody hears what they want to hear. Okay.
That's right. You got
Rabbi,
it.
did you talk about the fact that they used to daven the Am Shabbasados, they daven Marv, they were Musakin, Baruch Hashem Yom Amen V'Amen, because they davened outside?
Yeah, because I didn't talk about it, but because they were working.
Right.
The Chazal, we're not matriach people. It's a very good point you're making. The Chazal made a special shortened tefillah, Avinenu, for people that working outside, because they didn't want to be because they were responsible to work for their employer. They didn't have the time to go home.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's a shas tzchak. But shas tzchak, you certainly that's the Magen Avraham says Ovei Drachim are allowed to daven outside.
Yeah, what about the fellow, the Mishnah says that he was the officer who met him and he was davening and he was a mafsik. He wasn't davening in shul, he was davening on the road. Right?
So
And
I guess he was also Ovei Drachim. That's what Magen Avraham says. If somebody's Ovei Drachim, you have no choice. You can't daven no place. He was taking a trip, and the trips in those days lasted much longer than our trips. They couldn't go 100 miles in 1 hour.
might also be based on the Mishnayos. The Mishnah says that someone who's walking and is supposed to be Talmudo, and he says, Mano Ilon Zeh, if he looks
Oh, I was
around,
just going to say that.
he's
Yeah.
Mischayim B'nafsho.
Yes, Mechayis Benasho.
So therefore, it could very well be that if you're davening outside and your attention is drawn away from what you're doing,
Right.
it's the same that tefillah and Talmud Torah would be the same halacha in terms of.
So then,
We have one advantage on the
why are you allowed
pavement.
to have cholonos? Rashi says the purpose of cholonos is you look up at the sky.
Right?
Why don't we say it's Mischai Benafsho? If you're middle of davening and you're going to go look up at the sky.
Well,
Mischai
there
Benafsho.
it doesn't say the sky there. It says actually it says Ilan Noah. It doesn't talk about this.
Near Noah, near Noah.
Well, first of all, Chazal say that you have tzitzis. Is the whole reason tzitzis is tchelas dom liyam. So you're supposed to look and you're supposed to see when you
So
look
you're
up at
supposed
the
to
heavens.
think about it. Not supposed to. It doesn't say you should look at the sky. Just you think about it.
No,
But I always
whatever
said that the pshat in that Mishnah is if there's nothing wrong with looking at nature and seeing how beautiful it is. but it's only if you're masik mitalmudo. If you do it, if it's part of your Torah experience, that's fine, because it's nefalei sabayre is very inspiring. It brings you your shemayim. But if you're masik mitalmudo, if you pause and you're appreciating the beauty of nature for its own sake, so then you're mischayev b'nafsho.
Right.
On the pavement, you have, besides the shots, you got 2 basketball hoops. You got 3 shots.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Oh, very good. But I was
Izzy,
thinking,
Izzy, you were not muted during the shiur. There was background noise from you. You have
With
to,
background noise. I was as quiet as a church
but
mouse.
you should be muted. You know how to mute yourself?
I was muted most of the time. Where kind of background noise? I was sitting
one
like
of
a good little
I'm
boy.
telling you that there was
All right,
noise.
now you
And
have to show him privately how to mute himself.
I can do.
look at the bottom left of the screen. There's a mute.
Now he's muted.
actually one of them, Mepharshim in Pirkei Avos brings down. He says that that on that Mishnah, where it's Mischayev b'nafsho, he quotes a pasuk from Eov where it talks about it's talking about siach, and the whole idea. And he quotes from there that you shouldn't have any sicha, you shouldn't have anything that's outside of the normal realm of davening or learning. You shouldn't be doing. So therefore, I would extrapolate from there that the same halacha applies. That we're talking about tefillah, you should be very careful not to have anything that can interrupt
Your concentration. Okay, excellent. Okay, shkoyach everybody for being here, and shkoyach for all the horrors. All right, Laila Tov. Good night.
your